wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Sajah Hussein with you, and today I'm going to give a lesson for grade 10 الصف الرابع العلمي. Our lesson for today is the present perfect tense. Now, in English language, when we want to learn any new lesson, we have to learn two important things: how to form this tense and the uses of the tense. في اللغة الإنكليزية أي زمن جديد ندرسه نتعلم كيف نكون هذا الزمن وكيف نستعمل هذا الزمن. For our lesson for today, we're going to learn how to form a present perfect and then how to use the present perfect or when to use it, the uses of the present perfect. Now, before we start our lesson, it's very important to learn how to use the verb have. Now, the verb have, it's very important part from the present perfect tense. So, when we want to use it, we have to learn how to use it correctly. First, if my subject was singular. If the subject singular, we said has. For example, she has, he has, it has. Or I can say the cat has, Ali has, the same thing. Now, with the plural form, if the subject was the plural, I said have. For example, you have, we have, they have. Or I can say my brothers have, my friend and I have. And with the verb I said have. So, this is how we use the verb have. Okay? Now, look at these sentences here. I have cleaned my room. She has paid the dinner herself. They have written their names. Now, all these sentences are in the present perfect tense form. Now, let's take a close look for these sentences and analysis them so that we can know how to form the present perfect. دعونا نحلل هذه الجمل ونعرف كيف نكون a present perfect. First, I have cleaned. She has paid. They have written. Now, I have three parts here. I, she, they, and have has part, and then I have the verb part. Let's start with I, she, they. Now, I, she, they are the subject of the sentence. And then I have has or has. I choose have or has according to my subject. And again, if my subject is singular, I use has. And if my subject plural, I use have. إذا كان الفاعل مفرد نختار has وإذا كان الفاعل جمع نختار have. Now, and the last part is the verb part, and here we use the past participle form of the verb. Now, the past participle is the third form of the verb. The past participle هي الصيغة الثالثة للفعل. In English language, we have the three form of the verb. We have the infinitive form, الصيغة المجردة. We have the past form, صيغة الماضي, and we have the past participle form, الصيغة الثالثة للفعل. Now here we have cleaned, paid, written. They are past participle form of the verb. Now, how to form a present perfect? Now, in English language, we have regular verbs and irregular verbs. Regular verbs, الأفعال القياسية. They are the verbs that when I change it to the past or to the past participle, I only add ed to them. الأفعال القياسية هي أفعال عند تحويلها إلى الماضي أو إلى past participle I only add ed فقط أقوم بإضافة ed. For example, I have worked there. Now worked is a regular verb, so I add ed to it to change it to the past participle. You have listened carefully. You have listened carefully. She has cleaned the table. She has played tennis. It has snowed. We have walked to school. Now here we have the verbs worked, listened, cleaned, played, snowed, and walked. They are the past participle form of the verb, and they are regular verbs. Of course, there's a lot of other regular verbs, but I take those as an examples. طبعا يوجد الكثير من الأفعال القياسية الأخرى، لكن هذه مجرد أمثلة. Now, sometimes when I want to add ed to the verb, بعض الأحيان عندما أريد إضافة ed to the verb, I have a rule for that. لدي قاعدة لذلك. For example, if the verb end with e, if the verb end with e, like live, close, wipe, dance, they are verbs end with e. So when I want to change it to the past participle, I only add d. Very good. For example, I have lived here for 3 years. She has closed the door. Now, lived, closed, I change them to the past participle by adding d to them. Another rule for that, we have verbs end with y. Sometimes I have verbs that end with y or letter y. So when I want to change it to the past participle, I change the y to I and then add ed. أقوم بتغيير حرف y إلى حرف I ونقوم بإضافة ed. For example, spy and study. She has spied on her neighbors. Now, spied here is verb end with y. So when I change it to the past participle, I change the y to I and then add ed. We have another verb. We have studied hard. We have studied hard. Studied here is a verb end with y. So I change the y to I and then add ed to change it to the past. So this is how to form the verbs into past participle, okay, in case they are not only add ed for them. Now, sometimes I have irregular verbs. Irregular verbs, الأفعال غير قياسية. These are verbs, there is no rule for them. Some verbs, there is no rule for them. They are unique verbs. من أفعال مميزة ليس لديها قاعدة. For example, I have built that house with my own 2 hands. Built here is irregular verb. So I change this. So the infinitive form for this verb is built. So it becomes the same. She has written the essay. Written is a past participle form for the verb write. And we have run the marathon. Run is the past participle form for the verb run. And of course, there is a lot of verbs that are irregular. For example, go become gone. We have swim becomes swum, and a lot of other verbs. You have to memorize these verbs. هذه الأفعال يجب أن تقوم بحفظها. ليس هنالك قاعدة معينة لها. So this is how to form the present perfect tense. Okay, if in case my verb was regular or irregular verbs. Now, present perfect in questions. Let's see how can we make a question from the present perfect tense. For example, we're going to reverse the location or the position of the have and has and make it at the beginning. For example, have or has, and then I'm going to add the subject, of course, and then the past participle form. Has she talked to you yet? As you can see, we have has, and then the subject, and then the past participle. Has he talked to you yet? Have you watched the game? Again, I have is the subject. Have is the verb. You is the subject, and here watch is the main verb with the past participle form. Have you watched the game? Now, for the irregular verbs, the same thing here, but of course we have again to memorize how to change the verb into past participle if they are irregular. Has he ever driven a car? Driven here is a past participle form for the verb drive. Drive, drove in the past and driven in the past participle form. Have you ever eaten sushi? Eaten here is the past participle form for the verb eat. Eat is the infinitive form, and then ate is the past form, and then eaten is the past participle form. Okay, This is how we make our questions from the present perfect tense. Again, we add have or has, and then the subject, and then the past participle form. Now, here we're going to learn how to change the present perfect into negative. It's very simple. Only add not to has or have. فقط أضف not إلى الهاف or has. Of course, and if you want to contraction it, you can do that. I haven't stopped at a gas station for 3 hours. I haven't stopped at a gas station for 3 hours. As you can see here, we add not to the have, then we change it to the negative. It hasn't rained since Friday. It hasn't rained since Friday. These are the regular verbs. For the irregular verbs, the same thing, only add not to the have or has. She hasn't quit her job. Quit is the past participle verb here. It's irregular. You haven't ever been to Disneyland. Now, been here is the past participle form for the verb be. Be is the infinitive, okay? And we have was or were is the past, and been is the past participle. They haven't paid for the dinner. They haven't paid for the dinner. Paid here is a past participle verb for the verb pay. Okay, this is the negative form. Again, only add not to the verb have or has. Now, after we finish how to form the present perfect into different form, the affirmative, questions, and negative, now let's talk about the using of the present perfect tense. Okay, we use the present perfect tense for things that happen in the past but it's not important when they exactly happen. يعني نستخدم الزمن present perfect لأشياء حدثت في الماضي لكن ليس مهم وقت حدوثها. What's important is that it's happened. المهم إنها حدثت. I don't care about the time of it. لا أعير أي اهتمام للوقت الذي حدثت فيه. المهم إنها حدثت في الماضي. For example, I have been to London. I have been to London. أنا زرت لندن أو كنت في لندن. It doesn't matter when you have been to London. What's important is that you have been to London. هنا ليس من المهم معرفة الوقت الذي كنت فيه لكن المهم أنني كنت في لندن. I have been to London. Okay, this is one. Another thing for things that happened in the past and have continued in the present. أشياء حدثت في الماضي واستمر تأثيرها إلى الوقت الحاضر. For example, Bob and Jack have known each other for ages. Bob and Jack have known each other for ages. عرفوا بعضهم لعصور أو لفترات طويلة. Ages here like a long time, يعني وقت طويل. يعني هم تعرفوا في الماضي وما زالوا لحد هذا الوقت يعرفون بعضهم. فهذا شيء حدث في الماضي واستمر تأثيره إلى الوقت الحاضر. Bob and Jack have known each other for ages. So this is how we use the present perfect tense for things that happen in the past but it's not important when they exactly happen, and for things that happen in the past and have continued in the present. Now, we have some adverbs that we use it with this tense. أكو بعض الأدverb نستخدمها في هذا الزمن مثلا for, yet, ever, never, already. Let's talk about since and for. Now, since and for, it's very important to learn how to use it. We use since with months, days, years, and clocks. يعني نستخدم since مع كلمة months, كلمة days, أو كلمة years أو clocks. For example, I haven't played football since April. So April here is a month. April هنا شهر فاستخدمتها مع April since April. She hasn't cooked since Monday. Monday is a day, إنه يوم. We have bought this car since 2017. 2017 is a year. I haven't stopped running since 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, it's a clock. So since we use it with the month مع الشهور, days, أيام الأسبوع, years, السنين, clocks, الساعات. أحدد الوقت, أحدد الشهر, أحدد اليوم, أحدد السنة, وأحدد الساعة. As you can see in the example, since April, since Monday, since 2017, since 9 o'clock. and for with the number of the month مع عدد معين من الشهور أو الأيام أو السنين أو الأسابيع أو الساعات. For example, I haven't played football for 3 days. 3 أيام for 3 days. She hasn't cooked for 2 weeks. We have bought this for 4 years. I haven't stopped running for 6 hours. I have for 3 days, for 2 weeks, for 4 years, for 6 hours. مع عدد days, عدد years, عدد weeks, عدد hours. So this is how we use the since and for with the present perfect tense. Thank you for watching. See you at the next video. Goodbye.